Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
Hey, it's Brian.
And it's Tony.
From the Salty Language Podcast. We're a podcast with two friends that have, been around each other for like 70 years or something. And, we talk about kind of everything.
We're like a married couple that you hate.
Yeah, basically something like that. No, we talk about, just weird news, stuff that happens in our life, pop culture, really anything. It's, we just have a nice conversation and make up stuff along the way. So, yeah. And I guess, you can find us at saltylanguage.com.
For sure.
And
beer you'll be fine.
Well, also you can find us on dangerentertainment.net.
Danger! Watch your back! Danger!
Entertainment.net in case you missed it the first time. We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind. So if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast. And, or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or, go to NAMI.org or, whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you, feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need. Hey, it's Brian.
And it's Tony.
From the Salty Language Podcast. We're a podcast with two friends that have, been around each other for like 70 years or something. And, we talk about kind of everything.
We're like a married couple that you hate.
Yeah, basically something like that. No, we talk about, just weird news, stuff that happens in our life, pop culture, really anything. It's, we just have a nice conversation and make up stuff along the way. So, yeah. And I guess, you can find us at saltylanguage.com.
For sure.
And
beer you'll be fine.
Well, also you can find us on dangerentertainment.net.
Danger! Watch your back! Danger!
Entertainment.net in case you missed it the first time.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time. Stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen. I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Hanno. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Again, with the excitement levels. My good. Contain yourselves, gentlemen. Contain yourselves.
Nope.
We'd like to start at an easy pace.
Yeah.
Way up the episode.
We're rivaling NPR now. We need to volume it now. Just kidding. Well, with that, who wants to get us started? Because it's not my week to start it off. So one of you two can start.
I can start off with a bunch of expletives about snow.
Your picture at the roof.
When the window got closed.
Oh, my goodness.
When I couldn't see out my front window anymore.
Yep.
Yes.
That was not a good night. There was no sleeping.
I imagine
it was so bad.
you were probably worried that the glass was going to get pushed in, or...
You know, that was actually my least worries. Most of that, you just get that thump.
Yeah.
Thump, but there was this one where it was thump, and I was like, okay, that was it hitting the window. And I got up and I looked, and I'm like, okay, there's a screen, screen on the outside, and it wasn't even reaching the screen. It hit the frame, but it wasn't putting pressure on it.
Oh, okay.
But that was my worry. It was the dogs.
Oh, right.
Because I knew that the dog door was open. And finally I'm like, okay, get up and, shut the dog, so I shut the door so they can't go outside. But then I was dreaming about it. And I was like, it just kept waking me up and waking me. And then there'd be another thump. I mean, it was awesome just because we had 3 feet of snow in a weekend is what happened.
Jeez. And
we'd already had, I had a couple feet on the roof already or whatever it was. And so it looked like 3 feet. And I was just like, it just warms up and it slides off so I don't have to actually get up there and push it off because I didn't want to. But the last week was just brutal. I was getting up at 5:30, look outside. Okay. I was out in my driveway at 6:00 doing the whole deal. Half the time was getting the snowblower to work. Something, was not working on it. And then once I got that done, it's like, okay, do I have enough time to go do the backyard? Yep. All the dogs loops and that kind of stuff. And then I go to work, and after that weekend, we had so much snow, we had to go up on roofs, and there were satellite dishes that I had to dig a tunnel for it to get its signal. There was snow, so the distance.
So here's something funny. You posted that picture of one of the satellite dishes in our kick group.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, oh, that sucks. He's got to shovel a path to those. And then I'm like, wait, are those on the roof? Cause I was thinking it was on the ground and you were just digging a path, So I was like, oh man, he's got to get up on a roof and do that.
The funniest part was I literally couldn't open. We have these metal hatches that I couldn't push the hatch up. There was so much snow on it. It was so heavy. Wow. I had to just put into it to just slam my body into it, and it finally popped up. And that particular roof has a little set of stairs. Most of our hatches are right at ground level. One just had to be up high, and the snow was up the stairs. So I had to dig down. The best part is, those little in sky, the little light tubes. Mm-hmm. Where it's you end up with a tiny little dome on your roof, and then metal tube that goes down to let's say a bathroom, and it just brings reflected light in the room with full on highlight, and they were great. And on this roof happens to be one that leaked last year, and I was like, I gotta find it, and so I'm looking at this field of white. I roughly know where it is. I have to dig down the, 4.5 feet of snow till I get to the roof level, and then just start going in directions until I find them.
Oh man.
And then when that day was done, so I was using snowshoes on the roof just so I could walk over to whatever it is and clear.
Jeez.
At the time, I was just using the snowshoes just to stomp the snow down because it was easier to stomp it than to move it. And it's just basically to get, airflow needs to be, yada, yada, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's get in the car, drive home. And it was like I never did anything that morning, and do the driveway again, do the dog loop, fix the snowblower every time it breaks.
Jeez.
And I'd just be so tired, and I really wasn't getting to sleep early. I was up late, and by the end of the week, my Serenity savings account had dwindled into the red. And I was just done. So, because I think last week I talked a little bit about destroying a dustpan and a broom, I think, from that snow. Yeah, so that just kept going all week. Yeah. So that was the week. Yeah. Last week was the end of the 3 feet of snow weekend. And then it kept snowing all week. It wasn't like that many feet, but we picked up another foot or so by Friday, and I had to be out working in it. The worst was when I literally had a harness on, and we have a tower that gets these giant icicles, and icicles form over the swimming pool. So we have to knock them down. And if I'm going to get up there to knock these things down, I'm moving all the snow off the roof while I'm up there. Yeah. So 3 people are down below, keeping people from walking out to the pool. I'm literally up there shoveling, chunks of snow. It's really cool when the giant slabs of snow go actually into the pool. Because it's kind of neat. Yeah. But I drop it down to them, and I'm basically working as fast as I can. And like at one point I was like, I need to get some water. And I came off, I just guzzled, I don't know, 60 ounces of water. Just go back up there. And that hurt. Like by the time I was done, I couldn't hold a shovel. I mean, I was just worked. It was brutal. It just kept going on. Friday morning, my day off, I finally got in the snow, and the visibility was terrible. It was kind of windy in spots, but the snow was so deep, and I was there with one of my coworkers and his wife, she's a skier, and I just bombed our snowboard down runs. It was so awesome. It was like there's this run called it's called Plaza. It's not what it's called, but and it's got cat track. And the first time I did just a tumble, I realized, the snow's so deep it doesn't hurt. I'm going to start jumping cat tracks. And so I would get to the cat track and go off the edge and just fly. Because I'm like, And it was just great. I mean, it wasn't like I was catching 30 feet of air, but I was leaving the earth, and it was glorious.
Nice.
Yeah. So by the end of that day, I finally was like, my mood was better, but my elbows are just done and they're just swollen. And I haven't been to the gym in 3 weeks. I mean, I am just a giant complaint factory right now.
I can't imagine that you'd need to go to the gym. It sounds like you got plenty of a workout.
Yeah, I really, it really has been like that. Yeah. And so like today I finally was like, okay, I got off of work. I went in, I just took it easy, but it's like every joint just hurt. It's like, wow. So yeah, that was pretty. Oh, and the best part though was Friday night. I'm on the couch. Oh, here's another one. Finally got Netflix.
Uh-oh.
My protest doth over. Well, I started in The Good Place and Russian Doll.
Mm.
The counts, and I'm like, they're great. I'm gonna watch this, and plus, days I'm going to California in a couple weeks. It'll be something great to have on the plane.
Yeah.
You know what? Or when I'm at my parents' house, I can put it on the iPad. So I got The Good Place on. I'm on the couch at like 9:30, and I fall asleep. Slept all night long. I woke up at like 6 or 6:30 or so. Got up, and then the same thing happened Saturday night. I literally was on the couch, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go to sleep right at 9:30. So great. I had like 2 excellent nights of sleep. Went to work on Sunday. Had a rehearsal night, and then today I just had some. Well, it'll be our topic, so I'll talk about it later. But a little, I love having friends that I text and commiserate with, and just express myself. And I was like, perfect. It's Crazy Life tonight. I can talk about that. And so, yeah. But great. Like totally just cruising and getting better. And, again, it's my biggest effort is just trying to keep him mellow, not doing dumb stuff. And yeah, life is good. Going to be Sharon's going to Mexico this week for a week. And then when she gets back, I'll be gone for California in a couple of weeks. So I got stuff to look forward to. And
Nice.
That's about it.
Awesome. Well, I will go next. I'll mix it up a bit. And the couple things this week. First off, we had an ice storm, which I think, Brian, you were privy to. Thankfully, I don't think you lost much power, did you?
We lost power twice, but it was only for like 10 minutes at a time. So it would really, might as well not have gone out,
Define ice storm.
It was pretty much freezing rain that collected on the trees and the power line.
Okay. So you end up with just just ice hanging off of everything.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it started to freeze, and then it just kept raining and adding more, and it was like freezing rain. Yeah, okay. I gotcha.
Yep.
So our lucky neighbors next door, because I live in a neighborhood with a lot of trees, a lot of older trees, and the lucky neighbor next door, their tree decided to fall down across our street and take down our power lines.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we woke up to a getting colder house and 16 hours ahead of us of no power.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And the brilliantness of the whole thing is we decided to put our cars in the pole barn so that they wouldn't get covered in ice overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant idea. Except the pole barn has a giant electric door. So,
oh, no.
goes out.
Oops.
Get the cars out. And normally you'd be able to just go up and hit the manual override and be able to lift the door. Well, this is a door that's made to allow semis into this 40 by 60 pole barn. So
yeah.
Normal traditional door that you can just grab the rope and keep the key and
right.
goes up. So we had to spend the day trying to figure out how in the world we were going to make this happen. Because at the one point, we weren't supposed to get our power back for another 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So 11 p.m. the following night. And it went out at 7 a.m. that morning. So at one point, it was not looking good. And we needed to figure out how we were going to keep heat or do what we're going to do, because it's the two of us and then we have 2 dogs. Thankfully, we don't have any elderly or children with us, so we didn't have to worry about that end of things. So what we ended up doing, and I should say I use we very loosely, because what Hubs ended up doing is getting out this giant ladder and crawling to the roof of to the top of the rafters of a 40 by 60 pole barn on a ladder to pop out roll pins to disengage the doors, and then used a pulley system to pull up the door. So,
Wow.
yes, in a feat of manliness.
Yes, that is a feat of man.
Which, yes. So he ended up getting the door open, and we got our cars out, and then we went on a search for a generator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no such generator existed in our part of the woods. So everybody was sold out.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Probably.
So we ended up, by the time we got it going, which was probably closer to like 7 o'clock at night, they were all sold out. So we ended up getting a propane, well, we had a propane powered heater that my husband uses when we go hunting. So we got that out and we blocked off just the living room. And so we went out in the living room and we had a portable battery jumper that has a outlet on it. So we use that to charge our phones and to watch Netflix and whatever. And then we use candlelight, and then that propane heater gave us enough heat to kind of get through the evening. And thankfully that night, around 11 p.m. versus 11 p.m. the following night, thankfully, we got our power back. So we were going to be okay.
That's too bad.
So it ended up working out well. But that was quite the exciting Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday I get to work and find out that I have mandatory 2 hours overtime. So taking my 10 hour into a 12-hour day.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes. And it was going to be a 12-hour day every day last week. And half of this week, if not longer.
Ugh.
Yeah, which is all so much fun. And so I was feeling pretty, just worn out by just everything, just really worn out and just kind of just run down. And so I took a day off Sunday and feeling better. And then today, somebody helped put things in perspective for me. I was in one of my chat rooms that I'm in, and somebody asked me what I do for a living, and I told them, which is basically I chase down parts. And someone's like, "Oh my God, that sounds like so much fun." And I stopped and I'm like, "What? What do you mean it's so much fun?" And they're like, "Dude, it's like a scavenger hunt every week." How cool is that? I'm like, "Well, I never thought of it that way."
Wow.
I started thinking about it, and then they were going on, and they turned it into this huge thing in my chat room with multiple people chiming in, and then they started doing voiceovers. Like, how great would it be to get a video of you searching for parts and go, "Oh, is she going to make a left-hand turn? No, she's taking a right. Oh, it's over there on the corner," and just doing running commentary of me trying to find parts. And is she going to get the bumper? It's on to the left. Is she taking a left? No, she takes a right. She goes the wrong way. And just when they put so much humor into it and so much joy into something that I've been just stressing over and just feeling about for so long, that it really kind of forced me to kind of face what I keep telling other people and even myself, but I have a hard time with it sometimes, I guess, is perspective is the 9/10 of the situation. If you can't change the situation, you have to change your perspective. And that's really what they were trying to do, is trying to teach me, trying to show me that it really is about how you want to look at things. And I really, it's kind of the life lessons when they just kind of throw themselves back in your face some days, and you just have to kind of stop and think and go, yeah, maybe that's not what they meant, but that's surely what it is doing. The whole ice storm thing, it's frustrating and it's tough and it's going through all that, and it brings you down. But if you stop and think about it, I'm like, how lucky am I that I have someone that's able to do the things that my husband did to free our car and stuff. And even if I do all that, so what? I go a day without my vehicle. I have to put my head. I don't have to leave the house if I didn't, I had my medicine. I had everything I needed here. Granted, it'd be cool, but so what? You eat leftover food that's a little cold, or you eat cereal for dinner.
Cans of beans. Yeah.
So really kind of this mood that I had been in for a while, it just kind of broke through a lot of that and just kind of reaffirmed a few things for me and just really made me think about things differently. And so it was just kind of a neat wrap up for this kind of crazy week that I've been going through. And it just, I don't know, I get a lot of flack sometimes for the amount of time that I spend on Twitter. But I find that by talking with people, and that is kind of my chosen way of talking with people right now, I get these aha moments, intentional or unintentional, be it karma, be it whatever you want to call it, coming back to me. But I put this effort out there and I get the stuff that comes back, and it just helps to enrich my life and helps me to see things differently, question things more frequently, and just get out of my own way sometimes. And it's, having that interactions just really made a big difference. So if you're a Twitter follower of mine out there, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Yeah, that's why I said when we talked about this, a long time ago on the show about, how social media is a double-edged sword.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, when you get that kind of stuff, that's when it's at its best. When you, connect with people over, mental illness or just whatever it is you connect with people over, it's awesome that you can talk to people all over the world with going through the same thing you're going through, or just maybe someone that has knowledge in something. I don't know how many times, just talking to some, like in one of the rooms or something, and we'll be talking about something, somebody will bring up some legal issue and somebody in there is a lawyer and they're like, oh, here's what you need to do, or someone's a nurse or whatever, or like me, the night that I, ended up having, kidney stones, I was talking with our friend Oz and I was telling him a little bit and, he asked me a couple questions and then he was like, mate, you need to go to the hospital now. So, and he was right. I did need to go to the hospital now. But had I, if I didn't have that, I would have just sat here for not much longer probably at that point, but, it was getting bad. But, it's cool when you can have access to things you wouldn't necessarily have at your, disposal like that,
Well, that's kind of my week. So Brian, how about you?
My week's been pretty boring. I was thinking about it last night and, I've been once again struggling with the whole feeling stuck thing. 'Cause, it's a, broken record for me. It just, because I haven't figured out a way to stop the record, but, I'm looked into a couple things, like my brother and I mentioned her, looking to maybe start something up. And so I've been doing my due diligence on that, like researching it, figuring out what needs to be done. But what I'm also realizing is over the last couple weeks, depression's winning. Like cause I'm looking going, I'm sleeping, I'm in bed more. I shouldn't say sleeping more. I'm in bed more. I'm fighting to get out of bed. I, have no want to do anything. And, so, and, between that and then the anxiety, actually the feeling stuck thing, it hits you two ways because from the depression angle, it hits you with like a feeling of hopelessness and worthlessness. But and from the anxiety perspective, it hits you because you're just like, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to this? How am I going to, and it's hard to just let it go and relax. But cause I also realized that as I've been going through this, it's like, I'm not really talking to anybody about it. And, now this, for anyone who's been following my things with therapy, I mentioned that I missed a therapy appointment, and I'm like, I should be good until the next one. Here's why, here's why I don't generally skip therapy. Because had I gone, I might not be here right now. And I don't mean like dead. I just mean like I might not be depressed like that. Maybe there would have been something in there that would have really helped me. But not having that, now I'm where I am, and I know how to deal with it. I know how to cope. But it's been a really frustrating couple weeks for me. And, like I said, I realized that I was doing, like not talking to anybody again. And it's like, I'm so glad that like we had this tonight, because, I'm sitting there going, if we didn't have this tonight, I'd probably, I'd have to, find someone to talk to, I think, because I think cause I'm like, I can't, no, don't keep this in, like get this out of you, so yeah, so that's been fun, but, update on the phone calls from last week. I still haven't made them. So we'll be going into week 3 and we'll see what happens. I need to get them done because my prescription for testosterone is going to run out, and I know he's not going to give me another one until I go see him, because that's the point, So, yeah. But yeah. So there's that. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I really haven't gone and done much. I've cooked a few times. That's, I mean, really, and I mean, I'm back at the point over the last week, especially, that literally getting out of bed and putting on clean clothes is my win, and I hate when I get back to that point, because you feel like you're making so much progress, and then you have a day or 3 like that, and then you're like, oh, I've slid all the way back. But you haven't. But that's the distorted, thinking part of it, is that when you hit that point, you feel like you've completely slid all the way back. It's like, no. It's like you might have slid back, but you didn't slide all the way back, like, you can stumble and it's not considered falling, like, and that's kind of the concept here, is and keeping that kind of perspective is proof that I haven't slid all the way back. Because if I had slid all the way back, I'd be sitting here going, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Life sucks, life sucks. Whereas on the other hand, first thing I led with was I've been doing, research for the one thing, and I've cooked, and I've, so, yeah, it's been tough. I don't know. It's what's weird is I think I'm also at the point that if things did change, I think it would be, like when somebody loses a bunch of weight and then they're like, I still see myself as a fat person. I think it'll be that similar thing, is I like, how do I live without that pressure, of whatever, on top of it? It's like, okay, you've hit where you wanted to go. Now it's like, like, okay, that weight's off of you. Now what? So,
Right.
Hopefully we'll find out, but yeah. So, but overall, not, like I said, but again, like using your example, Jen, perspective on it. I have a house over, roof over my head. We have food. Our power only went out for 10 minutes, and then it came back on, and then about half an hour later, it did it again, but it stayed on after that, whereas there were thousands of people without power like you, for a few days. So, it's, when you start doing the gratitude list or the, at least looking and going, okay, you know what? Even if I don't have this, or this, I do have what matters. I have ways of sustaining my life, like, so, so yeah, it's a good exercise to do. But at the same time, I'm finding myself getting more and more frustrated with the stuck feeling.
Sure.
You know, so
It's a really tough feeling to deal with.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I need to talk with my therapist more about it, because, you know, I think that's kind of what I need to work on right now. I think that I need that help in that perspective, you know.
It's wild how you're like literally describing how I've been feeling.
Yeah.
It's just such a trip. Like words like frustration, perspective, like where I know where I'd rather be, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what the solution is, but I have these moments where I'm just like, how do I get there?
Yeah.
And then when I do talk about it, which I'm glad I do, when I talk about it, or let's just say something is suggested to me as a way to maybe solve the issue, and I go, nah, all I really need to do is this. And it's like, then why aren't you doing that? It's a lot simpler than what the suggestion is.
Yeah.
You know, but then the which kind of ties in with our topic. It's like, but if I have this like need to fix it right away or to do something about it, and I have to tell myself, don't just do, you know, be in your body, be where you are right now.
Yep.
Be in acceptance of what's around you, not fighting it, not wishing you were somewhere else, not wishing you felt a different way.
Yeah.
And when I do that and I allow, you know, time and everything to work its way through, all of a sudden everything just kind of gets taken care of. It's not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah. Because essentially what you do is you talk yourself back into the keep chopping wood.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really what you get back to at some point, you know? And when you get there, it seems so generic. It seems like, you don't want to be just repetitive. And it's like, no, repetition can be good. You know, that's that feeling of, you know, I'm doing what I can. This is all I can control. I'm just going to keep doing what I can do, you know, kind of a thing. And, you know, I mean, yeah, you know, sometimes we all need, you know, a good foot in the behind or whatever, you know, along with chopping wood, you know. Maybe somebody is like, you know, maybe chop more than, you know, 2 or 3 pieces today, you know. Like shoot for 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I guess it's a good time to jump into our topic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, what I have brought for us today is an article from liveyourlegend.net. And this website is devoted to live with purpose, meaning, and mindfulness, which is all things that we have talked a lot about on this show. The topic, or the title of the article is Finding Freedom in Discomfort, a Life-Changing Practice. Think back on a time when you were ridiculously uncomfortable, perhaps even terrified. Your palms are sweaty, your heart's pounding, it's tough to sleep. I'm talking about a feeling that you do almost anything to avoid. Got it? Okay, now what caused it? Whatever created it, chances are you're a better person as a result. I think I'm going to put a little caveat in here right now and saying anxiety can do all that stuff to you, and sometimes there's good anxiety, sometimes there's really bad anxiety.
Yeah.
So it is not always, you're not always a better person because of it. I guess you could make the argument that overcoming any anxiety can make you a better person, but there's a little wiggle room in there.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. It's very similar to the, you know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It's like, no, actually what doesn't kill you just makes you weaker. You know, like go tell somebody with cancer that, you know, eventually you'll feel stronger, but right now, not so much.
So it's just, great there.
Yeah.
If you ever find yourself stuck in a rut, making zero headway on your big plans, you can bet it's because you're scared of the uncomfortable. The biggest killer of progress I've seen with friends, clients, myself, hands down is comfort. To have a chance at living the extraordinary life, we have to get uncomfortable. As humans, we naturally do all we can to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Unfortunately, this causes one to settle for mediocrity, leading to a whole host of problems, not the least of which is fearing your path and living your purpose. You'll simply find too many excuses. Remember, freedom comes at a price. You have to earn it.
You know, the fear thing, I read, I can't remember what it was, I think it was a book I read, about overcoming fear. And the guy said that what he did, or his therapist actually mentioned to him, was to every day shoot for something that's outside your comfort zone. Doesn't have to be huge, but like if you have issues talking to people, don't go through a drive-through to get your coffee or whatever because you get to talk into a box. That's a comfort because you're avoiding, face to face. It's like go in and actually talk to the, order your food, your coffee, whatever it is. Just little stuff like that. Just like they said, just whatever it is that takes to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit. And there's like across the board that, the theory was that would reduce, it's going to raise your anxiety at the time. But again, over time, it's like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. When you, at some point you stop and you look back and you go, wow, I've done a lot. Like all this stuff were things I'm not comfortable with, but I've done all of this. And, with a lot of stuff with, mental illness, that's what you visualize going forward is I've done this, so I can do this and this and this. And I thought that was a really interesting idea though, to do, something like that. So, like if you're the journal type, put that in your journal every day. What did you do that was outside of your comfort zone? And again, if you don't feel like it, that's fine too. It doesn't have to be every day, but that the goal is like strive for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, just pick something that you wouldn't normally do because of a fear and do a part of it, even if it's not all of it,
When was the last time you got something super rewarding with lasting value without having to put some serious heavy lifting into making it happen? Other than fluke incidents, the true rewards do not come without taking some risks. You must earn your freedom. We've come to think all pain is bad. Here I refer to pain as discomfort and not the physical, harmful, and dangerous incidents most of us associate with the word. But the right pain is a crucial part of getting the best of our life. So it makes goals, accomplishments, and victory so desirable. Without the effort, we wouldn't value them. It's responsible for close to 100% of our development. Without pain, you surely never reach your potential. And it's so true. Sometimes you just have to kind of sit in that uncomfortableness and just be there and let it run its course to get to the end that is going to be worth it.
Yeah, that's everything I read about like trying to help people like me with anxieties around driving. That's essentially the technique is get in the car, drive. When you feel uncomfortable, don't go home, pull over, sit in it, and then drive a little more, and then go home kind of a thing. Like, because you've hit your barrier at that point. So it's like, let it happen, accept that it's, whatever, go through the am I in danger, those things we've talked about in the past, and then push a little bit. Again, not too hard because you don't want to push yourself too hard with, pushing through anxieties. You can have a rebound kind of thing. But, and so many people I've read, they're like, yeah, that worked great for me. It's like, there was one guy I read in the comment section. He said every time he drives, he basically has to pull over for a minute, and he's like, I've not asked for a ride from anybody in like 3 months. So it's like, that's a huge win. If you go for like me, I don't drive at all. So even if I drove once a week, that's a massive step, kind of a thing. So, yeah.
When you're uncomfortable, you're growing. If you could pick one rule to experience amazing things, I suggest if it feels uncomfortable, then you're doing something right. Well,
I don't know about that one. I get they're in their context, I guess, but I don't know about that.
in their context,
Yeah.
you have to make sure what uncomfortable you're feeling.
Yeah.
So, social, moral, and comfortable, probably not on the best path. But as far as anxiety and, feeling uncomfortable because of that type of thing and fear, power through that.
Yeah.
The only way to experience a dream is through a little healthy discomfort. Unlike a hiking boot that's too small, this type of discomfort is what makes life rich. To really have a shot at living on your terms, the only choice is to learn to love it.
I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and I don't want this to sound like I'm being negative. But it's like, I'm not entirely sure that it's to learn to love it as much as it's to just learn to not hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like chasing happiness or chasing away depression by saying you have to be happy. That's not how it works. You might get there, but generally you just want to get to where you're like not depressed, so that's kind of what I was thinking with this one.
There's actually a song by Garth Brooks, that's Standing Outside the Fire, I believe it is. Yeah. I wanted to bring it up here because some of the lyrics are really great, and it kind of talks about
this is Jen's
life is
Garth
not
Brooks.
tried, it's simply survived if you're standing outside the fire. So, those who can face the world alone, who seem to get by on their own, those who will never take the fall. And, it's just a great song because it talks about you just always stand outside where it's comfortable and it's warm and it's safe. You don't get to experience everything about life. So, yet another Garth Brooks, I guess.
Yep.
Reference. There we go.
Yeah.
I think I made one last week too.
Yep.
I'm a bit of a fan, folks.
This has been Jen's Garth Brooks Corner.
What can I say? I like it.
Next week, how the song Long Neck Bottle is actually about attachment issues.
No, 2 pina coladas.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Oh, goodness. All right, life begins just outside your comfort zone. That's where the magic happens. In the last few brutal reps at the gym that create the results. The torture of public speaking makes the best influencers and communicators. The terrifying job interview may give you a shot at your dream career. Starting a business initially exposes life's darkest doubts, but it's the price you pay to do what you love. It's intimidating to ask someone on a date, but it's the only way for you to find your soulmate. Publishing your writing risks a world of criticism, but it gives you the chance to be discovered. And switching to a healthy diet is brutal at first, but it's the foundation of an energy-rich, beaming life. All of my most amazing life experiences have been a result of a major initial discomfort. He makes a very valid point. It's how we grow. It's how we learn. It's the falls that define the successes.
Yeah.
And it's all about, pain is a touchstone of growth, and, all that, by overcoming adversity is when we find our greatest victories, and, all those concepts are wrapped up in there. And I even like that last one about, love it, you need to love it. I get the concept of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I there are things though that I guess if you're truly in acceptance of who you are at a moment, where you are, what's going on in your life, and you're really in gratitude and in yourself, you would love it, because it's about loving yourself for who you are at that moment, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if we are truly loving ourselves, we will love ourselves all the time. regardless of the situation. So I get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get a lot of these ideas. One thing that I'm starting to pick up is, though, how?
Well, the next part here is take the comfort killing challenge. The only way to break loose is to go at it head on. Instead of avoiding these uncomfortable situations, commit to doing the opposite. Do something that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck. So let's see. You'll know when opportunities come up, dive on them. You'll know when they do because you'll feel it in your gut. The feeling won't go away unless you confront it. Once you overcome it, your standard of what's possible will rise and the world will be in the palm of your hands. I first learned of this comfort challenge from Tim Ferriss, and it made all the difference. Which, that's a name that sounds familiar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. In fact, that might be who, and I might be thinking I read it, and I might have heard that on his podcast, the more I think about it.
Yeah.
Because that definitely seems like something that would be a takeaway from his podcast.
And getting out of your comfort zone at least once a week. Volunteer to give a talk to a group of friends or office mates. Any speech will do. Start a conversation with someone new, ideally an attractive member of the opposite sex if you're single. Start with a smile. Call a celebrity or famous mentor of yours and ask them 3 questions. Make it meaningful. Negotiate a better deal on a fixed price item at a retail store. Don't let pitch an idea to someone who could really help make it into your reality. Once you've done this a few weeks, switch to daily comfort challenges for a week. Then you'll be changed for good. But it never goes away. The only way to avoid discomfort is through inactivity, i.e. laziness. Say no to every opportunity that crosses your path and you will become free of the anxiety that comes with it. Stepping outside.
I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially saying that somebody with anxiety and not doing something because of their anxiety is lazy, and that is not true.
I agree.
You
So
know.
using that term there was inappropriate.
Yeah. By inappropriate, you're just meaning the wrong word.
Yes.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Because that isn't the case. Again, it's like saying that every fat person's just because they won't stop eating, and that's not the case, you know?
No.
There's other factors that contribute. Maybe it is part of it, but yeah, of course there is an element of laziness, maybe, but most of the time it's not. It's just that you're that afraid. Mm-hmm. You know? It's the reason I don't drive isn't because I'm lazy. You know?
I think what he's saying is that if a person doesn't even try to confront the anxiety and try to better themselves, that they're falling back on this comfort zone. That's the lazy part, is you're falling back on the comfort zone. If you're actively trying to keep going forward and moving forward through the discomfort, that's what he's trying to push. And I don't think lazy is the right word at all for this. I'm just not coming up with the right word at this point.
Yeah. Because again, the reason you're not actively pursuing something is because the fear is greater than your drive.
But
it doesn't make you lazy. It just makes you, in a bad place mentally.
Right. But you should always be striving for help, hopefully. Get to the point where you're struggling to even get the help needed to fight the fear, to be able to achieve your goals. That's a really bad place, and hopefully people will find a way to get the help and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
So let discomfort ignite your breakthrough. Most people will stay in a job that makes them want to poke small pins in their eyes for no other reason than it's comfortable. There's no more dangerous place to be. When things are comfortable or manageable, there's no motivation to be in charge for better. Make a change for better. Don't let the fear of worst case scenarios suck you into this fate. It's never bad as it seems. Opportunities will be worth their weight in, your freedom. It takes courage to try new things. It takes courage to blaze your own trail. The crowd lives in comfort. An extraordinary life thrives in testing the limits. Let the testing begin. So, there we go, folks. Some of it, I am with you, Brian. I agree with a good portion of it. some of it, I think he's being a little idealistic and a little heavy-handed, but I get what he's saying. Sure, we have to fight the comfort of doing nothing.
Yeah. I just don't like the concept of using, I don't like trying to inspire somebody by using negativity. And that's what that does by saying that they're lazy,
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're not. And some of them, yes, of course, there's always going to be people within any demographic, blah, 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 But like I said, I know plenty of people who don't do things, and it's not because they're just like, meh, or if they are, it's because they've now, now give them this. It's like they get to a point that they're just comfortable going, like with me, it's like, I don't necessarily have anything that's making me go drive. I can always find rides, and stuff like Uber existing or whatever is just going to feed into it even more, But again, it's like, it's not that I'm lazy. I just, I'm just used to life as it is without that, So, again, you have to have something that motivates you. A good example, my grandma did this. She didn't drive until she was like in her 40s or 50s. And the only reason she got her driver's license was my grandpa died. She had to. That was it. If she lived in today's age, she wouldn't have to, because again, Uber exists. She could get around better.
Maybe that's not one of your goals that you're passionate about, because, I think part of what he's trying to say is not that you're being lazy, but maybe you're not finding anything to push you through your comfort zone to seek the help to get the, next step.
Yeah.
Basic, and like you just said, you don't really have the motivation for that goal. So maybe it's just that's not the right goal to work on right now.
Yeah. I mean, there is a difference between unmotivated and lazy.
Absolutely.
And that I think that's where my problem is that there is a large gap in between those two words. Mm-hmm. You can be totally unmotivated to do something, but it isn't, I don't know. Like I said, and your motivation there is, I get it. He wants everyone to push into their comfort zone. And I totally agree with that. It's just, like I said, I just at the core of it, I just don't like using a negative term to kind of promote. It's funny. I listened to, it was the Adam Ruins Everything when they were talking about finances. And the one woman, he mentions, Susie Orman, who's a well-known, financial person. She's got her TV show and books and all this, right? And the woman goes, ugh. And he was like, what? And she goes, I don't like her technique because exactly what I just said. She's like, she tries to motivate you by calling you names and being negative. And she's like, there's no need for that. And I that's kind of where, for me, reading something like that, if somebody was like, here's the way to do this, I'd be like, screw this guy, and boom, I'm immediately turned the other way because, you're calling me a name. And people go on the defensive when they feel like they're being called names.
Right.
So, yeah, whatever. I mean, like I said, I get it. I just don't agree with his.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It just, it was one word, and granted, I understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. But in the scheme of things, the overall arching message, I believe, is a positive one, which is,
oh, yeah, it is.
Step down. So, I think that was very misworded. He really chose poorly on that. Mm-hmm. But definitely, it just teaches us, something to take away from it is yes, if you become way too comfortable, sometimes it is just worth it to step outside of that comfort, to take a risk, try something new, and, live in the uncomfortable. It sucks. I mean, we all have to do it, but it's worth it most of the time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is it doesn't have to suck. Like he pointed out, the one point in there that I did agree with about, when he made the comment, well, I kind of disagreed with it, but about when he says learn to love the discomfort kind of a thing. It's like, if you get to a point that you're comfortable with what makes you uncomfortable, then that's what you need, because generally that is the barrier. Like I said, you don't have to go full on into loving it to be able to do it. You know, people do stuff all the time that they have fear and anxieties about, but they've gotten used to doing it. So they just, you know, there's tons of people, celebrities you'll hear talk about how like they almost get sick before they perform or whatever. And it's like, you've been doing this for all these years. And it's weird, you know, to hear, but it makes sense. And like I said, they're going out and doing things. You know, they've just gotten comfortable with the uncomfortable feeling.
To me, it's more like where it just no longer matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's where there's a lot of things where I need to. A lot of changes I made in my life where I needed to either get outside my comfort zone or try something new, or you know, reframe thought process, that kind of thing, and the anxiety that goes along with it. What I found is that when that anxiety went away, it wasn't so much like, oh, now I love this.
Yeah.
No, the anxiety went away.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just doesn't matter anymore. And I think it's a great example about, you know, being on stage. It's like, I can be very excited to be on stage and still be full of anxiety.
Right.
I can love doing this and still be full of anxiety.
Right. Which goes back to, as Jem mentioned earlier, about the good anxiety versus the bad anxiety. That's a good anxiety because you're anxious is in the sense of the word that you want to go perform. You know, this is whatever. It's a big deal, you know, and I've always loved when celebrities are like, when I don't have that feeling, I'm done. Like, you know, because that they feel like that is like, I love it so much. I want to put on the best show I can and blah, blah, you know, so yeah.
Yeah. And for me, like things like when I first got sober, it was being in situations where there was alcohol, you know, and I did all these things. I put myself out of my comfort zone. The thing that I made sure I'm not doing this stuff alone. And that was the one part about this is it's great to talk about all these things, but how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the steps are important. What are the details? What are things like, all right, don't do these things alone. I had a lot of help with like, okay, I'm going to go into a situation where I might want to drink. And I'm just going to use that as an example. That's my ism. And it could be any other thing. Okay, well, first of all, I need to make sure that I'm in a good place inside. I need to be fit spiritually, mentally. I need to be where I can, the minute I feel a little bit of fear, that I can walk away. You know, these were things that were suggested to me, and that if any time I don't feel quite right, that it's don't even mess with it. Don't push it. Turn around and walk away. Don't take a chance. You'll get another opportunity to try it, and you'll be and maybe be in a better place. You know, have someone to check in with. Have a partner.
Yeah.
Have someone to help. All these things are like they're very important for going and taking action when you are in a state of inaction. My thing that I'm going through right now is where I need to take inaction.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm in the opposite right now.
Yeah.
I need to be okay with doing nothing.
Right.
And I'm finding that that's harder for me because the other way, I've learned all these steps, these ways to being someone that has been willing to, you know, do something risky from a physical standpoint, meaning, you know, like whether it's jet skiing or skiing or blah, 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 willing to take risks, emotionally, and a lot of that having to do with sobriety, risks as far as, you know, my comfort level, as far as my music, all of these things I've done. My hard part is when I have to sit still and let process happen. And my brain is saying, do something, do something, do something, do something. And it's like,
Yeah.
I know that's the last thing I should be doing is something. I shouldn't be doing anything right now because process has, I don't need to do anything right now, but I want to.
Yeah. Well, and we're conditioned to be that way. Like, especially as you get older, you're conditioned to have a good work ethic, which is essentially, like, it'd be easy for me to describe, to describe what you're saying is a good work ethic, right? Because you want to be doing, you want to do, whereas if you don't, well, you're lazy. And that's where I think, and it kind of is the same concept, but it's not true. Like you said, in your situation, doing nothing is actually the best action you can take,
And it's so freaking hard.
Yeah.
It is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's
hard.
And that's I'm trying to use the same tools apply though.
Mm-hmm.
So today I reached out to a friend to just say it. This is what I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome to hear that. Oh yeah, me too. I totally understand that. And then in the process of talking it out, I find I get myself out of that uncomfortable zone. I typically am reminded of what's important and what's needed, which is if I'm in some sort of if I'm anxious, I'm either I'm future casting or I'm living in the past. I'm not in the moment.
Right.
Because in the moment I'm doing what I need to do. If I want to fix it, if I want to fix something, then I'm in the future. I want the shortcut. I want to bypass the whole process that everybody else in, the universe typically needs to do for something. And I want to get to the end of it, which that's not how it works.
Right.
Or I am bringing up something, I'm playing old tape. Basically. Either way, I'm not where I need to be.
Yeah. And
it's wild how having the conversation, I'm still not where I need to be. Especially like I happened to be at work. Was I working at that moment? No, I wasn't. I was texting. But I was having a hard time working at that moment. But even then, I wasn't, where are my feet? What am I supposed to be doing? But I needed that conversation to be reminded of that. Like, oh yeah, I don't have to do anything right now. There's nothing I need to do right now.
Yeah.
Allow process to go through.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because you're right, Brian. Like it's another one of these things where my work ethic is an asset. And in this case, it's a liability.
Yep.
Because, henna want to do.
You get yourself a hobby like, building houses out of popsicle sticks or whatever.
And here's the thing is a lot of and this ultimately comes back to self-seeking, at least for me, is where I'm getting to where I can do work is there's the selfish part of me and everything that had to do with this last week as far as being frustrated, everything that had to do with my serenity level running out, everything with me being willing to just kind of lose it on for nothing, on a switch, has to do with a me problem. It has to do with my selfishness, my self-centeredness, how I'm not getting something that I feel like I deserve, or I'm not getting what I want, rather than, I don't want to love it, but I want to be good with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to be comfortable there. Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was up on the roof on that tower, I was good because I knew I was doing something that people were going to appreciate. I was going to I'm helping others. I'm working with my coworkers. I'm doing the job and I'm doing it right for all the right reasons. I did not have a moment of it was a selfless situation. Something needed to get done. I got it done. But then when I got home, it all got twisted for some reason.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes with me and what basically my issue right now is what I already brought up recently, which is just there's just financial outlays for this year. I'm gonna cover them. Everything's gonna work out just fine.
Yeah.
But there's a part of me that wants to just start selling everything in the house, so and I want to short circuit the process. I don't need to.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a very self-centered thing that it's I want to control this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a weird situation though, because it's, if you look at this from like a self-care perspective, right? The hardest thing to do a lot of times is take care of yourself, because sometimes taking care of yourself is do nothing, lay on the couch, veg out for a day, just that recharges you kind of a thing. And it's hard for so many people to do it, because that's not who I am. This, like you said, I don't want to do, so, and when people do that kind of thing, some people will put guilt on themselves for, I wasted the day. Like I had a day off. I could have got all this stuff done, and this kind of thing. And it's, like you said, it's a rare situation, where your, like, selfishness is a very delicate scale. Because on one hand, you need to be selfish, but on the other hand, you also have to realize that that your selfishness, like you said, to control or whatever is also weighing you down in that point. So it's a really interesting spot to be in.
I think this comes up a lot is in dating and in communicating.
Yep.
Because how often are we afraid to put ourselves out there? And when we do, then there's that delay in their responding back.
Yeah.
It's like we don't get the response we want when we want it. Sometimes we have to wait for the responses. Sometimes it's not the response. And having to deal with a lot of the anxieties and just living in that moment and just putting it out there. Not future casting, not bringing up past. Just being there in that moment and saying, okay, I'm going to sit here in this uncomfortableness for the moment. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to push. I'm not going to talk too much. I'm not going to, I'm just going to be quiet and just be right here. And when they're ready, they will come to me.
Yeah. It's very similar to the terms that's used for dating, like cast a wide net or hooks in the water kind of a concept. Yep. And it's like, if you look at fishing, the next step is not immediately pull. The next step is wait. And that is, it's really difficult. I mean, that's why Tom Petty wrote a song about it, So
Garth Brooks?
No, Tom Petty.
No.
Damn.
No, you already had your chance this week.
Yeah. You met your quota.
Yeah.
Fine. What do you think, guys? Are we good?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I just want to say thank both of you and my friend, who I don't need to say his name, but for texting me today, because you all remind me about and help me with that perspective part. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I just need to say it out loud. The worst thing, what's the worst thing for any of us? Isolation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is absolutely the worst thing. Being in our heads, thinking that we can do something by ourselves, those are the worst things. And sometimes we are the only one. Hey, when we're dealing with our own internal fears, we're the only ones that can really get us out of there.
Yeah.
No one yelling at us or telling us that we just need to buck up and get to it is going to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's an inside job. It still is. All the motivational speakers in the world isn't going to change the fact that it's an inside job.
Yeah.
And if I stay inside, nothing happens. If I bring it outside, that's when it bounces back. I see it. I put it into the light. I get to look at it and go, am I being silly? Am I being ridiculous? Do I need to be in fear? Do I need to, or is everything really handled? And sometimes it's just, I'm just saying something that I already knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my head, my brain is twisting it to be something else.
Yep.
But out of my mouth and reflected, it suddenly makes more sense to me.
Yeah. Or it's just, there's just some times where, like people will be telling you something for like weeks and you're just like, whatever.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden that's just some random person will be like, blah, blah, blah. Or you hear it on a podcast, whatever. And all of a sudden it's like, aha, and all your friends are like, we've been telling you for weeks.
Telling you that for
You weren't ready to hear it,
Exactly. And that's why I always will say, don't stop until the miracle happens. Don't give up until the miracle happens. Whatever it is, whatever you need to find in that moment, whether it's just a little serenity, some gratitude, this and that, give yourself a chance and don't quit before the miracle happens.
Absolutely.
I like it.
Well, with that, folks, you know what to do. If you want to continue the conversation, you can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with the G. You want to hear more from me, you can reach another podcast I'm on called Shake the Sheets. That's shakethesheets.com. You can get all the information on that. For the show, if you want to reach out to the show, you can reach us via email at thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. Our website is thecrazylife.weebly.com. Nope.
Crazylifepodcast.weebly.com.
Podcast.weebly.com. And, Heno, how can they reach you?
You find me on Twitter at Ida Heno. You can find me on Facebook, Heno Heiter. And you can also find me on another podcast, which is the Gotham Lights / the Orville Lights podcast, which you can find if you just search for Gotham Lights podcast.
And Brian, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can also find the show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can check out the other podcast I'm on called Salty Language at saltylanguage.com, or on Twitter it's salty_language. That show is not safe for work, so be careful where you listen to it. You can check out the Crazy Life Facebook group over at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. We are a part of the Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And we're also part of Danger Entertainment, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. So please go check out those networks and see if there's some other shows you may like on there. And we would also appreciate it if you would rate, review, and subscribe if you haven't already. Or share our posts with your friends or whatever if you think they could get something out of the show. As always, if you are in a position where you feel you need help, please reach out to somebody. I understand it's hard. I've been there. But it's worth it. And once you do, a lot of times you'll look back and go, why did I wait so long? And that's, I did that. and if you, I was reading something earlier today that actually said instead of starting your day by immediately going right to your social media or your email or whatever, to instead basically text a friend and be like, hey, how are you? Kind of a thing to start your day. Now, granted, if you get up at like 4 a.m, your friends may not appreciate but,
a little discretion maybe.
Yeah, a little bit. But I like the sentiment of it, which is to check in somebody, make sure they're doing okay or whatever. And, rather than just immediately run into Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. So yeah, check in on your friends, make sure they're doing okay. And then, am I forgetting? Whatever. I guess just, make sure, like, let's try to be good to ourselves and to others. I know it sounds hokey or whatever, but it's like, whenever you can, choose kindness. And, yeah, I'd rather have people killing them with kindness than with bullets,
Uh-huh.
Yep. So that's all I got.
Awesome way to go out, for sure, is, kill them with kindness, folks. Go out there and be happy and be nice to each other.